All right, hey folks, so today we're going to be looking at Jeff Nippard's video called The Most Effective Full Body Routine. I remember seeing this video about a year ago and I remember completely disagreeing with it at the time. And now I have my own YouTube channel. I want to explain to you guys why he is dead wrong and provide a better alternative. So firstly, thanks for making it onto my channel. If you have any questions or comments, pop them down below. And if you'd like to work with me on your own strength and physique goals, there's a link in the description. So let's firstly start with Jeff's interpretation and what his view is on what is the ideal full body routine. He has a 5-day full body routine, which he's selling on his website for about $40. So here is what he's got. Now, essentially what he's done, this is Jeff here. 10 out of 10 for the beard though. This is Jeff here. Now, what he's very sensibly done is he's placed the big 5 exercises on days of their own and then built a routine around that. So the squat day then fills in with the rest of the body parts for that day. The bench day fills in with the rest of the body parts for that day. So essentially it's a 5-way split, but he's just filled it in with extra work to make it a full body day. So that's his thought process behind putting this routine together. And then all he's done is he's separated the bench from the overhead press, separated the squat from the deadlift, and then sandwiched the pull-up in the middle of the week. So relatively sensible. The problem comes in what he's done with the rest of the week and why putting things together in that format doesn't really account for whole body recovery. And that's really what I want to focus on. So if we go over to the next slide, I've started to make some points here. The first major point that I want to talk about is the body doesn't recover as one whole system. So stacking a squat day followed by a bench day and then all the rest of the exercises with it and the rest of the week doesn't allow for full recovery of all the body systems. So firstly, we have the muscles, which recover very fast. And that is the basis of full body routines. That is, do a little bit of work every day and you'll be recovered for it. And your muscles can recover really, really quickly. Even from the most intense workouts, if you're fairly advanced, muscles recover within about 24 hours. It's the rest of it that doesn't recover. And that's what prevents you from lifting heavy again. What most people think is a recovery of the muscles is actually these other 3 things. So ligaments take a long time to recover. Ligaments take up to a week or maybe more to recover. So that's one of the big things. The third thing is just the nervous system in general. So just being ready to do the same exercise again with that level of intensity, that is something which takes a while to do. So, and bones, they recover very slowly if they're broken, but obviously that's not something we need to worry about in this program. But I'm just highlighting the different recovery systems in the body. Muscles tend to recover lightning fast, maybe within 24 hours or less. Ligaments and nervous system take a lot longer to recover. And so when you understand that, you start to look at Jeff's program and think, there's some issues with what he's doing here. So firstly, the muscles, yeah, they can be trained really, really frequently. And so they're good to go. So 5 days a week, A-okay, no disagreement there. Now, where we start to see disagreements is when we look at ligament structure. Now, the problem with Jeff's routine is he's loading the ligaments continuously, heavily throughout the week. And that's an issue. So we have here the squat on day 1. Now, the next day is the bench press day, but he also has the Romanian deadlift as well as the T-bar row. And then on the next day, we have the leg press. And the day after that, we have the full deadlift as well as the leg extension and the glute ham raise. And then on the final day, we also have the hip adduction and there's more of a rest for the lower body. But that's 4 days of continuous lower body heavy loading. That's where the ligaments don't get a chance to recover. Even though you're attacking them from different angles, they don't actually get a chance to recover because you're continuously putting the structures of the hip, the knees, and ankles under load, heavy load, all 4 of those days continuously. They don't get a chance to recover. You're always loading them with similar types of stress, so the same relatively heavy weights for the same relatively heavy rep scheme throughout the week. Ligaments aren't going to get a chance to recover. Now, if you then look at the shoulder joint, first day, we've got the dumbbell press and the pull down. Next day, we've got the bench press. So we're going right from heavy sets of dumbbell press and pull downs into bench presses the very next day. The day after that, we've got pull-ups, dumbbell rows. The day after that, we've got dips. The day after that, we've got overhead press. So the shoulder girdle is getting hit heavy 5 days a week right the way throughout. And you might think, well, that's the nature of full body routines. And actually it's not. And I will show you a better way of doing things. But I just wanted to highlight, to begin with, on this kind of structure, you are going to feel like you've been run over by a truck right from the beginning, because you are continuously loading your ligaments hard. Your muscles will be fine, but your joint structures will be beat up, and any areas which are susceptible to being run down, like if you have a genetic susceptibility to elbow pain, they will get hurt. Shoulder pain, it will get hurt, because you're not varying the stress. So just varying the exercises isn't enough for most people. The stress needs to be varied, and you have to be quite intelligent about putting things together. The way that Jeff's done this is just to stick the big 5 exercises on different days to focus on those, but that's saying nothing for the recovery of the ligament structures throughout the week. Next, we've got the nervous system. Now, the problem with this is we've got a heavy lift every single day. So squat days are pretty brutal. And for anybody lifting a decent amount of weight, let's say you're up to the 3-plate, 4-plate territory for squats, that's going to be followed then by bench presses, which are also pretty brutal if you're quite strong. Then pull-ups, and then dips, and deadlift, and overhead press. So the thing is, they're all heavy days. There is at no point are you going to get a respite from having to go to the gym and hit these heavy weights for sets of 5 to 8 and going all out with the maximum your body can handle in that exercise for sets of 5 to 8 for as much intensity as you can muster. There's no psychological rest. There's no nervous system rest on any of the days, and that's very damaging. You wouldn't even do that in sports. Like, think of any sport where you were just going balls to the wall every single day, right across the week. No intelligent put together program does that. And that's what Jeff's saying we should do here with training, which is perhaps the most intensive, on the most intensive exercises with the most intensive effort on the main lifts. Not a good idea. So here are the solutions. My solution is always to assign heavy, light, and medium days. Now, the idea is you stack fatigue on the heavy days. So your heavy days are admittedly brutal. Your heavy days may well be something like a full squat with a bench press, with maybe a bent over row and overhead press. So they are heavy, heavy days with work on a range of heavy exercises for relatively low reps. So like 5 to 8 range. So you're going in on a heavy day with the goal of, I'm going to lift big compound exercises and I'm going to lift them for moderate reps, moderate to low reps. So that is a psychologically demanding day. So you can stack fatigue on that day because you know that the next day of training, maybe after a day off, but the next day of training will be a light day. Therefore, psychologically, it's not anywhere near as demanding. The light days actually act as active recovery days. They're psychologically easier. Your nervous system isn't anywhere near as damaged doing days like that, where you're going in and you're purposely doing things like leg extensions, leg curls, dumbbell side laterals, pullover machine. And you're also doing that for higher repetitions, not the 5 to 8 range. You're more likely working in the 12 to 15 range. It's a psychologically far easier day. And secondly, it's physically easier on your body. So your muscles are still going to recover as fast, but your ligament structures aren't going to get anywhere near as much work on those days. So it's actually going to improve blood flow to those ligament areas and improve recovery. For those of you who know what GPP is, general physical preparedness work, the type of thing that Westside focuses on, you'll know that sled pulling, riding on the bike, all that kind of stuff actually improves recovery because it's done after the heavy day. And that's what light days do. They improve your recovery from the heavy days. So whereas Jeff's approach is to just stack fatigue after fatigue after fatigue after fatigue until you hit the weekend and you collapse. My approach is to stack heavy days when you're stacking a lot of heavy work and then follow them up with lighter days, which basically act as active recovery and improve your recovery. They act as full body GPP days. So like, for example, people do the sled pulling and that is really good for the back, for the legs. What I do is I do a light session. So what about the chest and shoulders, right? They get GPP work, they get recovery work because you're hitting them with sets of 15 with very short rest periods. That's the idea. So they're getting that recovery work, they're getting the blood flow in there. You're still working the muscles, but what you're doing more importantly is you're getting blood flow into those ligaments, which are very hard to get blood flow into, and you're improving recovery ready for the next session. So the heavy days, you stack your fatigue on those, follow them up with a light day to improve recovery while still working the muscles, only with lighter exercises and shorter rest periods and higher rep ranges. And the medium days, the idea there is you do something in between to build work capacity. Your goal is to turn those medium days eventually into heavy days so you can do more workload across the week. That is a far better system. Jeff's system, it's very chaotic. I don't like this idea of just not understanding that the body does not recover like that. The body has multiple systems within it: muscles, ligament structures, nervous system, all which recover at different paces. And you can't just keep stacking fatigue on those systems day after day after day after day. You will break at that point. The way that I do things is far more congruent with what we know about how the body actually works, which is to stack fatigue and then have recovery days, stack fatigue and then have recovery days. That's more like you would do things in a sporting sense as well, and it's better put together. So that's my two-piece on that. Hopefully you found that useful. I will be releasing a full body routine soon, and so that'll give you more of an idea about how I program full body routines for the best results. All right, folks, hopefully that was useful. Take care.